You may be wondering what the difference is between a St. Louis style rib and your regular spare rib. Basically, the St. Louis cut, it's just a cut of the meat. So what happens is, and I get these at Costco, so they do most of the heavy lifting for me. But on a regular spare rib, you're gonna get all of this meat, but it's also gonna include the brisket bone as well. So if you had regular spare ribs and you wanted to turn them into St. Louis spares, you would remove that brisket bone. So it's like that extra flap of meat that comes out, extends out over here. And then the way you're really able to recognize a St. Louis spare rib is simply really by the shape. You know, they just have that perfect rectangular shape. And that's what makes them be considered the St. Louis spare rib. I don't know the history, and I guess this is something that was made popular in St. Louis. I don't know all the history behind it, but I know that this is what a St. Louis cut looks like. So what we've got here are two St. Louis style ribs that I picked up from Costco. And what I really like about buying them at Costco is that they've already taken care of most of the work, which basically means that they've already removed the brisket bone from it. So for the most part, the shape of these ribs are already set up for you. So really, what we just want to do is take off like any hanging pieces of fat, like over here. And I might do a little bit of trimming just to square them off. But again, this is backyard barbecue, so I'm not overly worried about trying to make these look perfect. If these were for a competition, I'd be more concerned about making sure that all of the edges and everything is shaped perfectly, but that's not the case here. So first I'm just gonna look these over, just give them a little bit of a eyeball test, and then start figuring out what I want to remove from these ribs. So actually, after I take them out of the cryovac, the next thing I like to do is kind of pat them off, pat them dry with some paper towels. I'm gonna grab some more paper towels here and just kind of get rid of some of the excess moisture. And then like I said, I'm just gonna take off some of the little hanging pieces of meat, any excess pieces of fat, and just take that off. This piece right here is already pretty well trimmed. There's not a whole lot I need to do. Just kind of feeling where the bones are. So like there's a little fragment bone right here, right there. And here. And there's one here. So what I'm thinking about doing is just taking off the little fragment pieces of bone, because you know, when someone picks this up, there's just not going to be much there to hold on to. So then I know a lot of guys will take this little piece, maybe cook it separately, eat it for themselves, or maybe use it like for making sausage or something like that. All right, I'm just trying to feel, I'm just gonna shape that just a little bit just to square that off. So that's really about all I'm gonna do. little hanging piece here to the back side in terms of trimming. Now, you have options. There are different things you can do with the silver skin. I know a lot of folks will actually take the time, to work their fingers in and peel the silver skin off. Again, this is backyard barbecue. I find that what is actually just as effective is to just score the backside with your knife. So just run your knife across those bones. And this will be just as effective at the end of the cook. So at the end of the cook, you're not going to be chewing on that silver skin. And this is really all you have to do. Now, another thing I'm doing today in terms of my seasoning, in my last video, we did direct heat ribs on the smoke slinger. I tried 3 different rubs, including a combination of just salt and pepper. And what my wife and I found, we were blown away by the taste of just doing salt and pepper. And that's going to be my process moving forward. So I'm not using any fancy commercial rubs or any wild combinations. This is as simple as it can get. And you're going to really taste the pork flavor. It's really gonna shine through. Since I'm just doing salt and pepper, I'm not even gonna use a binder today. I'm just gonna go salt directly on the backside here. Okay, and then just a light pat is all that's needed. And the salt is going to pull moisture out of the ribs on its own. So we're just gonna let these sit at room temperature for a while I get the smokers ready. So actually, I think I'm gonna let these sit with just the salt, and then we'll come back later, let that salt pull moisture out, and I'll come back later and do a run with the pepper. So we're gonna do salt first, and then follow that up with pepper. And it may look like I'm using a lot of salt, but it's not going to taste nearly as salty as you might think at the end. So I'm going to take this rack, put it aside, let it sit, let that salt pull the moisture out, and then I'm just going to repeat the process for these other ribs. Shape them, get rid of any pieces of fat that I don't want. Get rid of any bone fragments, shiner bones, and then season them with salt, let them sit, come back and do pepper.